Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Non-Classics. This is episode 1575 and Doubleshot number 1469. Yeah, the first trade I'm discussing here is the finale for a volume of a comic book series, and this book is Runaways, Volume 3, The Good Die Young. Yep, this collects the last 6 issues of Runaways, Volume 1, Issues 13 and 18. Now you might ask, why the heck did this volume end after only 18 issues? The answer is a bit, let's just say, it's something that I don't think Marvel cares themselves to discuss here. No, not really. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the reason why the book ended after 18 issues because, and you might be a little bit surprised about this, the reason is the imprint ended. Yeah, it was part of an imprint known as Tsunami. Excuse me. Yes. So, yeah, that's the reason why the book ended. Of course, Brian K. Vaughan brought it back not long afterwards, after begging Marvel. I mean, the book came back within a few months. I mean, it came back the following year, and it published for a pretty good period of time. It published for 30 issues, though he didn't write the whole thing of it. Yeah, he later left. Yes. Okay, the big thing with these issues here, I was trying to make sure I get some stuff right here, is that we get the backstory of the formation of the Pride. Yeah, they were assembled completely at random. Now, Molly's parents are mutants. I believe it's, let's see. Now, the Deans are, well, they're aliens who also pose as actors. And in the case of, well, the parents, well, in the case of the, let's see, Stacy. Oh, okay. Gertrude's parents were time travelers. Yep, they were time travelers. Where they don't like this century. Yep. And, okay. And the Steins were scientists. The Monroes were sorcerers. And, of course, these were aliens. And they were brought together to basically form an organization. They were brought together by these things. The Gubberum, who appear in this issue, and they appear in issue 17. Yep. They're brought together because they think it's their time to inherit the earth. Well, and they want them to offer a sacrifice to them in order for them to take over the world. Yeah, here's the weird thing about these guys. These things come completely out of nowhere. It's part of backstory I don't think anybody expected. I mean, I do appreciate Brian K. Vaughan taking time to explain the backstory of the Pride. Because here's my theory of the reason why he did this. Because he had heard that the imprint was being canceled. It was probably canceled due to what's the most popular reason why something ends? Low sales. Yeah. But in my theory, I think Runaways was actually the best thing part of the imprint. Yes, that was the thing. Runaways was the best thing part of this imprint. And he probably thought this though, that's just my personal theory anyways. I think he felt as though Marvel was making a mistake in ending this comic book, even they could continue it, no problem. Yeah, they could continue it, no problem. But yeah, for some reason, it's like, okay, let's just end it. Yeah, a lot of the books published in this imprint, with the exception of this, didn't last very long. No, it didn't. It was more like a teenage style imprint that started in 03, wrapped up around 04. 04, 05. It only lasted a couple years. This book only lasted for like a little bit before ending. And okay, so apparently it was because of these digest books that published the Runaways volume. That's the reason why the book got revived. The trades. And you're thinking, really? The trades revived the series? Yeah, this is only one of a couple times basically this has happened at Marvel where the trade paperback sells so well they revived the comic book. The only other time this happened was the Unstoppable Wasp several years ago. And that book got canceled after 8 issues, and they published and reprinted it in 2 trades. And then I think because people loved the series so much, they bought the trades because they sold so well. We've had the series, except managed to last for 2 more issues longer. This book managed to last for a year longer than this volume did. So we come today basically the Price plan to get their kids back. So they had to involve the LAPD in this nonsense, in this stuff. And we figure out who the mole is. Alex Wilder, the leader of the team. Yeah, he apparently betrays the team, takes some of their powers, though he ends up getting killed by the Gobram. Which they accept the fact that he actually has responsibility for summoning them. And they kill him. Right in front of his parents. And you know the weird thing is about this? The guy stays dead for 10 years. I am not kidding about that. Marvel kept this character dead for a decade until they brought him back in issue 5 of Avengers Undercover. No, I'm not kidding about that. That was quite something. As for the Pride themselves, the government killed them all. As for the creatures themselves, they, as far as I can tell, never appeared ever again in comics. No, they never did. I think one of their creatures popped up in the most recent volume for the series, but yeah, they didn't do very much once Runaways wrapped up. Actually, no, they actually, well, after the Pride were defeated, they popped up in, well, they tried to come back in the successor volume, and they popped up in Infernus, which I had previously reviewed. And then they popped up in all books. New Mutants. This is, of course, the 3rd volume for the series that lasted for 50 issues. Yeah. They, of course, apparently they're around at the TV show, even though they said they weren't going to use them. So, they did, in fact, bring the creatures back. Like, as soon as this volume ended, they did pop up in this successor volume for a handful of issues. Yeah, they popped up for the last issue Brian K. Bonded, popped up for an issue of Infernus, and they had one of the creatures stay for pretty much the remainder of the most recent volume for the series. For well, because they're a species anyways, but technically, they didn't do very much after this volume concluded. Yeah, it didn't do very much, but I gotta admit, this actually was a pretty good conclusion to this book. And then, here's the thing, right after the parents died, like, apparently they're not given much time to mourn, because they're confronted by the Marvel Universe. Well, Captain America. And what does he do with them? Put them in foster care! Yes, he puts the Runaways in foster care. And then they run away from that, and then they steal Charles's ship. Now, throughout these issues, there's a couple relationships started. One gets abruptly ended in these issues. Like, they kind of briefly have a romance between Alex Wilde and Nico until he turned traitor, and then when he died and when he came back, the first thing Nico decided to do after, well, he got revived by Damian Hailstorm of all people. Yeah, he got revived. What did she gotta do when she got angry? She decided to have sex with him. Yep, she did. And then he popped up in the pages of Power Man Iron Fist for the last arc of that really good series. That's one of those mini-series Marvel I kind of felt as a Marvel should never have canceled because it was really good. And then he returned for the most recent volume for Runaways. And that's it for him. As far as I can tell. Yep. And of course, the Runaways did come back the following year in the very successful ongoing series, started by Kane Vaughn, finished by Joss Whedon. Yes, Joss Whedon finished up Volume 2 after Brian King Vaughn left. It is the first and only volume of Runaways where it had more than one writer. Yep. This book is actually pretty good. Give this book a 9 out of 10. My final thoughts on the original volume for Runaways. It's a definitely good volume to read. It's only like 3 books. And you can easily track, I'm sure that you can probably track these down. I mean, take a look at this. The deal with the original cover price of this book was $7.99. You won't find a trade book that price anymore. Oh no. Books nowadays go from like 17 to about 20 bucks. And I think that Runaways, I think those cost about $16. I think so. That's the most recent volume of the series. Now here's something quite neat about this volume before I move on to discussing my next book, which is going to be related to Earth 2 Society. There is, I kid you not, there is actually a new printing of this. Yes. Yes, there is. Yeah, they actually had a Brian K. Vaughan complete collection for this book. And you're thinking, really? There was one? Yes. Yes, there was. Yeah. Now you might be asking, have I actually watched the Runaways TV show? No, I have not. But yes, there is a complete collection. Yeah, in 2014, Marvel decided to collect this original volume, which was originally collected in 3 digest books, into one book called Runaways The Complete Collection Volume 1, which collect the first 18, which collect this entire volume. And then, yeah, they pretty much collected like everything for Runaways related. Mostly anyways. With Volume 4, where they collected up until like the 3rd volume for the series, but excuse me, they throw in their guest star appearances and they popped up in a couple other books like Avengers Academy and Doc and Dark Wolverine. Those we'll be discussing in the future when we get against those trades. Now, moving on to a different trade series, we have Earth 2 Society, which collect issues 13 to 16 of the series and the annual. This one's called A Whole New World. The second trade that collects Dan Abnett's run for the series. With artwork by a whole bunch of artists here. We have Federico DeLiso, Angel Hernandez, Tony Harris, a really good artist. I actually met him at my last Comic-Con I went to. Really nice person to meet. Wade Von Grodbadger, Bruno Dandino, Juan Aberin, Dustin Neves, Adega Neves, and Roy Jose. The cover is by Jorge Jimenez and Alejandro Sanchez. That's who pretty much does the cover art here. Now, in these issues, by the way, the main villain in these issues and the final arc of the series is Ultra Humanite, where he had pretty much brainwashed a bunch of kids to work for him, give these weird code names like Fire Pattern, Tag Along, like what the heck is up with these code names? And he gives them sort of powers in a way. And what is he said? Now, what is he said? Now, basically, before he does this little something he does, we see that, well, Fury has reunited with the Wonders. And here's something really weird, though, about these issues. Where the heck is Mr. Terrific? Because he's absent for these issues. Yeah, for some reason he just disappeared. I mean, I didn't see him in these issues. Yeah, for some reason, Mr. Terrific got dropped off the series for some reason. For, like, no reason. Let's see. Let's see if I can find him here. Because it seems as though, like, and this is something for some strange reason. I don't really know why this is. Where, like, this character was, like, dropped from the series for, like, no reason. Yeah, it just. Also, there's no appearances. Well, these issues by Red Arrow and Ted Grant, who actually don't appear for the rest of the series. No, they surprisingly don't. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Yeah, it seems as though Rant these issues. That's the last time you see Ted Grant in this series. Yep, Ted Grant is done. As for Red Arrow, he also, well, they kill him off in these issues. Yep, Red Arrow, aka Oliver Queen. Yep, he gets killed off in these issues. And okay, so yeah, not really sure why they took care of these characters for. I'm not really sure why. It just kind of weird. I'm trying to find him here on here because for some reason Mr. Terrific is just dropped from the series for like no reason at all. Oh, and here's something you might find interesting, though. Does the book ever acknowledge the relation between Miss Terrific and Power Girl? No, that's actually ignored. And you're thinking, really? It is? Yes, for some reason it is ignored. There is no explanation of why the heck it's ignored. It just is. It is by far one of the most baffling things related to this relation between these two characters. Mm-hmm. Let's see if I can find him here. Okay, here you go. Yeah, it's like, okay, let's just have Mr. Terrific, a pretty prominent character in, well, in Earth 2 Society, he appears for the opening 2 issues of the series, and then he disappears. Yes, there is basically no explanation of why he was dropped from the series. It's just that he was. I do remember him pop up in the last issues. Actually, he did. He just abruptly disappeared. Yeah, it's like some characters you saw in the previous series. By the time you get to here, it's like they're gone. It's like either they're dead or they just disappear. So the Wonders basically have base operations, a tower. And you're thinking, a tower? Like, that's a bit unusual even for these characters who are based upon the JSA. Which, yes, that is indeed true. Because the JSA was headquartered of a brownstone a lot of the time. Or they're headquartered out of a cave. When they took over briefly the former headquarters of the JLA, I think it was back in like the 90s. I think it was. The Secret Sanctuary came Mount Justice. They actually did have that as a brief base operations. One of 2 teams who were not the Justice League had that base as their operations. The other, of course, being the Doom Patrol. Actually, one of 3. The other two, one being Young Justice. So we have it where Ultra Humanites basically just cause chaos with these kids, and they really want to get their hands on the Pandora casket. And this does play a role in well, not much in these issues per se. Mostly that's there to set up the final issues of the series. That's simply put why it's here. So we also reveal in these issues that John Grayson, the son of Dick Grayson, is in fact alive and well. A character who had not been seen since the end of Earth 2 World's End. Yes, why the heck Danny took so long to bring his character back, I have no idea. So he basically, well, attacks his father, who, by the way, was not wearing the original like costume that Thomas Wayne wore, where he's wearing like an exoskeleton, and then in these issues he stops wearing the costume he wore at the start of this series, and pretty much puts on the Thomas Wayne costume, and he wears this for pretty much the rest of the series. And it's also revealed that he can't walk without this stuff. This probably relates to the events of Converge, which I haven't reviewed that yet. So Ultra Humanite just basically just comes to the Wonder headquarters, which, by the way, the casket was guarded by Red Arrow, who gets killed. Yep, they kill off my second favorite superhero, though it's not the version of him. So he attempts to tamper with the casket to the casket to alter the world and basically have him take over. But then he's shoved aside by Fury, who decides to activate the casket, and then we have this abrupt cliffhanger where everything turns white. Thus setting out the final issues of the series. I gotta say, this actually was, well, actually also one thing I'm going to mention though, they actually have Alan Scott put back on his Green Lantern ring, even though he took it off at the end of the last story arc. He puts it back on again because he's brainwashed because he's being controlled by the Ultra Humanite. Yep, he's being brainwashed by him, but luckily enough he's restored by the very end of this. I gotta say, this actually was pretty good. Despite the fact that I don't like the fact that they basically stop having Wildcat appear in these issues. Yep, Ted Grant just stops appearing in this series for like no, actually he's not appearing prior to this. For like no reason. Did he die? No, he was still very much alive. They kill off Red Arrow for like seemingly no reason at all. And we just said the final issues of the series. Give this book I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Runaways, I give that a 10, a basically 9.5. Yep. But yeah, that's it for particular review. Stay tuned for my next review, which is going to be something interesting. And you're thinking, what could that be? Well, I'm discussing the final 13 issues of a particular run of one particular series, which was basically done by 3 writers. And the other one, the final issues of this series. Because I couldn't get the trade for it, because it was impossible to find. Okay? See you in the next video. Bye.